Piracy has been around for centuries. In classical antiquity, the Illyrians, the Greeks, the Romans, as well as the Phoenicians had been involved in acts of piracies. The first recorded incidence of piracy dates back to as early as the 14th century BC. One way or the other, piracy has managed to continue throughout the years. During the last 10 years of the 20th century, piracy saw a rise. And in the first decade of the 21st century, it started to become a really major problem. Tactics is talking to Dr. Stavros Karamperides, lecturer in Maritime Economics and program manager of the MSc in International Logistics and Shipping Programs at the University of Plymouth. Dr. Karamperides will be able to shed some light on piracy throughout the times. Dr. Karamperides, good day to you.
Pleased to meet you, Eleni.
Thank you for taking the time to do this. So we've all seen the movies. Piracy is not a new concept, but where did it all begin? And what is the modern definition of piracy?
Everything according to the first initial attempt of written history, it was recorded back in the Aegean Sea, or in the extension of Mediterranean Sea, which a lot of Phoenicians, they were having illegal attack on a vessel or coastal town that's not of a warring nature. So according to Plato, that was the first initial kind of recording of piracy attack. Of course, according to the more recent definitions, according to the International Maritime Bureau, piracy is defined as an act of boarding or attempting to board any ship with the apparent intent to commit theft or any other crime. So you can understand that piracy, even that we started many, many centuries ago, we still have the same kind of mindset or definition to get on board on a vessel and get either monetary values or do any other crimes.
Mm-hmm. There have been some estimates, as far as I know, where there has been a dramatic incident rise. Is that true?
Yes and no. It's like we've seen an increase in the modern piracy attacks in 10 years ago. Back in 2010, we had a spike of piracy attacks, and all that kind of stuff were coming. Most of the piracy attacks were coming from the area of Somalia, down in the east coast of Africa. And of course, as you will see, also from the ancient stories, and of course the famous Pirates of Caribbean and all that kind of stories of Captain Jack Sparrow, pirates are thriving in regions that there isn't enough state control. And the same story happened with Somalia. So we had a lot of piracy attacks back in 2008 and 9, and as I said, the highlight of that, it was back in 2010, which we had a spike in the pirate attacks in that region. Of course, NATO has taken actions against that, and all the nations go together and they try to tackle that kind of modern issue that we faced. And with the Operation Ocean Shield, they've managed to tackle the modern piracy that was evolving that kind of region. It was a big area of operation, which NATO, of course, if we go to their website, you could see that was capturing some parts of the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden, and of course, a big part of the Indian Ocean. So, as you will probably find out from the various reports, the cost of piracy back then in 2010 was something about 7 to 12 billion US dollars, and that was the actual cost of piracy. While according to the latest data that we have, like a year ago, the cost of piracy has dropped to 2.2 billion US dollars. And as you can see, that's kind of 1/10 of the actual cost that we had 10 years ago. And that's because pirates, number one, has been tackled from organized responses like the NATO response, or number two, that pirates are nowadays asking more, let's say, accurate figures for the ship owners that they can pay easier.
Mm-hmm. So what is the long-term impact to shipping due to piracy? I mean, you talk about how NATO has managed to somehow put an end to some of the piracy. Where is it all going though? Is there a way to put an end to it permanently?
As you can see, and we started with a small history lesson, piracy is kind of existing from the first initial civilizations around the globe. when we had Greeks and Phoenicians being attacked from pirates, that was the first initial civilization where they started trade. And trade was always linked with the maritime sector. So as long as we're having maritime sector bringing stuff all over the place, which don't forget that shipping sector is the lifeblood of globalization. As long as we're having globalization, we're having products shipped from point A to point B, and we're using the seas, the open seas, pirates will always try to find opportunities to attack a vessel, because don't forget that a vessel is isolated. It has, nowadays, a vessel has a small number of crew, 20, 25 people on board, regardless the huge size that they're having. I don't know if you're following the news, but the latest vessel that has been delivered recently, it was for containers at least, is 25,000 TEUs. And that kind of huge mega vessel is able to be sailing around with 25, 30 sailors on board. So you can imagine that those sailors that are having a very heavy timetable and they're very busy with doing other stuff, if they're going to get an attack from pirates, obviously they're not going to be able to tackle that kind of incidents. Of course, thankfully, if you see any of the statistics that we're having in terms of the attacks, you will see that container vessels are not preferable from the pirates. And that's because the freeboard that the vessel is having is quite high. So it's really difficult for them to climb on board the vessels. And that's why you will see that a lot of the attacks that we're having from pirates are going to bulk and to the tanker vessels, because the freeboard of the vessel is lower, so it's easier for them with a small ladder to get on board and attack the vessel. So going back to your initial question, if we're going to see it extinguishing the next couple of years or eliminating the fact of piracy, the answer is we don't really know. But of course, with the modern technology, that probably could be a solution. You know, it's like if we manage to implement digitalization and if we manage to have controls of the vessel remotely and we don't have any crew on board, then probably digitalization could give us a solution. And if pirates get on board, they don't have any hostages. So if you don't have any hostages, that means that you are not able to get control, because the vessel, if it's autonomously driven or someone is controlling it from far, many miles away, you can't treat it. And, you know, it's like if you control the vessel far away and nobody can do anything in order to change the course or get any of the cargo that's on board the vessel, then probably you have a secure operation that is not going to be attacked from pirates.
Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Karamperides.
Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you.